And we're on. This is the Great Classic Movie Debate. I'm Kenny.
Paul.
I'm Steve.
We talk anything, everything as it relates to not just classic movies, but any movies. So and we try to keep it fun, try to keep it interesting. If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. And check out our sister channel, The Great Classic Rock Debate. So we mentioned earlier, we'll go ahead and mention again, we lost Tina Turner a couple of days ago. She passed away at the age of 83. So she has certainly been an iconic figure throughout our lives. So we don't have to go into her movie history, but I wanted to at least take a moment just to mention that. And any particular either memories or just anything that you have mentally pertaining to Tina Turner that you might want to mention, we're open floor to do that.
Well, we talked about she played the role of the Acid Queen and Tommy. Steve, have you ever seen Tommy all the way through the movie?
No, I'm not a big Who fan.
I'm not the biggest, but it's different. The movie is just completely different. I would highly recommend you watch it, but you got to, and it's long. There's scenes that can be jumped, but the whole thing of it is just so brutal. I mean, it's brutal, dude. What happens to his biological father is just brutal. So, and what they do to him is brutal, and and then we fast forward. I don't know how George Miller, he directed Mad Max, all this stuff, how he picked her. I don't know how that came up.
I don't know the specifics, but I can tell you that based upon her popularity at that moment in time, she was probably getting all kinds of movie offers just because you would the same way in the 90s, they would take the most popular rapper of the day and put him in a movie, knowing that the teenagers are going to flock to see this movie because Snoop Dogg or whoever's in it. Tina Turner was so popular at that moment in time. I assure you, lots of movies were requesting. So that was it.
But why? What other movies? I can't think of any that she was in. But then that. Yeah, but other movies.
Well, I don't know.
The
only movie I've seen that she's in is she was in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and then wasn't she in Leonard Part 6 with Bill Cosby?
Could have been. I never saw it.
I never saw it.
I just dawned on me right now. I think
if I did see it, I would never admit to it.
I saw when I was a kid. It was like on HBO. Or something.
Well, I've never pulled up her resume on Internet Movie Database, but she's probably been in a few others. But Beyond Thunderdome is the one that's memorable. She has a really feature role in that. And
I have to go back and watch that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, you and I, we're dead late, Dad. We're dead late.
I saw that in the theater, and I just thought, why is this so weird? And then it just turned out that it's just because it's Australian.
Well, the first movie, it's just happened to me 2 or 3 times in high school. One of my buddies saw it. He goes, dude, this is the darkest, most horrific movie you've ever seen. And so the next day.
The first Mad Max?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 5
of us in the theater, and one of the 5 was the movie critic who had reviewed it the day before. He did this a couple of times. We'd walk in there, see him on Friday, we would laugh because he's in there watching the movie again. And when I saw Mad Max, I was just like, I mean, this is the first, other than Dawn of the Dead. Oh, I can't remember which one came out first. I think Dawn
of the Dead was first.
But other than that movie, it is dark, dystopian future, man. And it's
absolutely.
Yeah, you're talking about the first Mad Max or the first? Yeah, the Road Warrior, or not the Road Warrior, but Mad Max.
Mad Max. It is. You see this, Steve? Right? It's brutal.
Oh, of course, yeah. I love it. And as a kid, like I said, it was just. It didn't dawn on me when you're a kid growing up and you see foreign movies and even movies that were from England. There was always something off about it. It was just because I was young and dumb and didn't realize, like, oh, there are countries outside of the United States and they don't, they're just a little bit different. They drive up the left side of the road or whatever. So
it was such a dark movie. And then Road Warrior is pretty damn dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also very dark, and this movie's more comical. I mean, it's still dark.
She just going through IMDb. She was also in Last Action Hero, and apparently she was the mayor. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. She's credited as the mayor So I'm guessing she was the mayor of Los Angeles.
I remember. I just saw that movie like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. That's a funny movie.
It is. That's one of those movies when it came out, I saw it in the theaters, and you thought, is this supposed to be serious? Like, and then you see the guy he gets killed by an ice cream cone in the back of his head. And you realize, oh, okay, no, this is not meant to be taken seriously.
What is the date on that movie? Is that like
I would say
93 or 94?
93, which has
That's
got
30 years ago.
it's got an awesome soundtrack,
You talked about that.
which we talked about last
Kind
time.
of a remake of that movie, and I saw it, and I think I was drunk. A Purple Rose of Cairo by Woody Allen. It's got Jeff Daniels in it. It's the same basic plot. That's sometimes like Joe versus Volcano. I watched the opening credits. I closed my eyes and I saw the closing credits.
Right.
2
I've
hours
done that more than
by.
once.
I think, how is that mathematically possible that I could, it was like, I think it's the Purple Rose of Cairo. I'm going to go back and watch that scene anyway.
That happened to me with Harry Potter. I fell asleep.
Now, as an older man, I took my daughters to see whatever movie, and that happened to be quite frequently. But younger man, I was like, man, I must have been tired or drunk or something. So anyway.
Okay, so do you guys
Okay, go
want to say anything about Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Paul, you haven't seen it, have you?
I just saw it. It's awesome.
Okay. Oh, well, great. Then let's at least spend a few minutes on that.
Did you see
And
it?
then saw it. We saw it this past Saturday night. And I was
me and Paulie saw it. Yeah.
Okay, I was telling Steve that we saw it largely based upon his recommendation. It got really good scores.
I loved it.
Yeah, but that was good. I was surprised. So let me say this, and I was telling Steve, the first two, people kept telling me how good they were, and I'm just not a big Marvel guy. It's nothing against it. I just won't go out of my way to see those movies. And both of them I saw on video, and I was so pleasantly surprised at how much they exceeded my expectations, which probably weren't that high, but I found them enjoyable, funny, entertaining, amusing, all of those things. So I didn't know what to expect for the third one. Are they going to maintain the high bar now? Or are they going to let it down? And then it got the good reviews as Steve. So we went and saw it. And I got to tell you, I thought it was just as good or even better than the first two. I really, really enjoyed it.
I thought it was 20 minutes too long, but it wasn't like I never listened to my watch. But just for being 1,000, I just have a running count of how long this is. But yeah, I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, the best part about it is it wasn't woke either. So
Ain't that true? Yeah.
And Marvel does not have a good track record over the last couple of years since really
No.
Endgame. I haven't really found their movies to be that good, but yeah, I thought this was rather enjoyable, and it had a great villain, and I like the backstory of
Rocket.
Rocket.
That was great.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It really was. Man, whew, that was good.
And they've got the right amount of comic relief. And when Drax throws that ball at that little girl and knocks her down, I'm like, you're an idiot. And then when she calls him stupid, it's okay to be stupid. He's like, I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid? It's really funny. I don't like Dave Bautista because he's super woke and
Yeah.
I know he's big. I don't care, but I'm just saying, in this movie and in the Knock at the Cabin,
that was good.
he just took that movie over. Knock at the Cabin. He just crushes this movie. Have you seen this, Kenny?
Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah.
I have not, but you mentioned on an earlier episode it was really good.
Shyamalan movie is his latest
Yeah,
one.
it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, you should see it.
Okay. All right. Putting it on the list. And without giving away too much, I just want to say that scene where Rocket just shreds what's his name's face. I mean, he's, oh my God. So that whole time you're wondering, why is he wearing this mask? And then that tells a picture's worth 1,000 words, man. He just.
Yeah. I'll admit, I kind of saw that coming, and I don't know anything about the backstory, but I still thought it was cool. I still liked it. So
It's great. It was great.
I was trying to think of which girl I'd rather have. Zoe Saldana or where is she? Where's that lady with the funny name? Where is she from? Is she Thailand or Indonesia or something?
It's impossible to tell because they put so much makeup on them. They might not even look like that, you know?
She's a pretty girl. Chris Pratt, I mean, you know what was really cool? He kind of takes a back seat in this movie.
A little bit, yeah.
And,
He does, yeah. I thought after I saw the movie, I was like, really wasn't in it too much.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
okay.
the last 3 or 4 songs, there's some songs there like I just don't like them. I don't recognize, and I think they're very good.
Well, you know what? I hated that song that they play at the end. I forget who the
Oh, you're not
artist.
talking about "Come and Get Your Love"? I love that song.
No, the Dog Days Are Over.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay. Yeah,
I
that
hated
one.
that song when it came out, but I kind of like it now.
It's okay.
But, you know,
the first 2 hours was good as a soundtrack, and then I was like, oh god.
Well, they had.
they threw in a couple
Faith
of
No
weird
More
choices.
was on it.
Let's see.
Faith No More was on it.
Yeah,
We Care a Lot. That was.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe somebody else other than myself. Well, I'm sure there are other people that have heard that song, but usually I'm just surprised when I hear how you typical, especially a Disney Marvel movie when they know of kind of obscure songs like that. So
yeah.
All right. Do you want to shift over to Australian movies?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Steve and I mentioned before you joined us, Paul, that we don't know a whole ton of Australian movies, but there's one in particular that I know, and I know you know, because we saw it together.
Crocodile Dundee.
Wolf Creek.
Oh my god.
I remember when that trailer came out, I wanted to see it so bad. I still haven't seen it. I've heard Paul's complaints about it.
I saw this movie. This is the only movie in my life. Remember, I was kind of peripherally involved in the industry out in LA. That after the movie, I went in and the manager and I just said, "You didn't make the movie. This is the worst piece of trash."
We left, Steve. We left the theater. He's in a rage. We left the theater and we walk right up. They have like a big semicircle desk where the manager and a few other people are behind this desk. And I guess that's who you go talk to if there's some issue with your tickets or whatever. So Paul just walks up huffing and puffing and he says, I want my money back. Like he's ready to beat somebody's ass. And the manager
says,
and the 17-year-old manager.
Yeah. So the snarky, he goes snarky. He goes, normally you say that before the movie. I said, well, how can I know it's shitty until I see it? and he could tell I was mad. And he said, well, and I started picking the movie apart. He goes, I was going to give you 2 free tickets. And I gave them to Kenny.
Yeah. So the guy he was caught off guard because Paul's not saying this or this. He just wants his money back. I want my money back. And the guy's like trying to figure out what's the problem. And Paul says, the movie was terrible. It was possibly the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And the guy says, well, I can't refund your money because you didn't like the movie, but I can give you 2 free passes. And then we said, okay, that's fine. So we took those.
So to show my authenticity, I handed them to Kenny. I said, I don't even live here. I live in California. And so ironically, about a year or 2 later, the producer of that movie came to our class.
Really?
And I launched into this guy.
Okay, hey, before we go any further, let's just give a quick little background about the movie, just in case anybody who's watching who hasn't heard of it. So it came out around, I think, 2005. Is that about right?
A little bit later than that.
Okay. It was 2005
I live in LA.
2006. Okay.
I live in LA, so yeah.
It's based upon a true story that takes place in Australia. And you got these 3 young people, 2 girls and a guy, who are doing sort of a cross-country road trip kind of thing. Am I getting it right? Okay.
Yes.
And they meet up with the wrong guy who is a serial killer or something or other. And I guess 2 of the 3 he kills. One of them gets away because that's the one who lives to tell the story. However, so much of the movie, the guy, the survivor dude, he was not in the presence of these events as they were happening. So it had to just sort of be an artist's imagination of what might have happened, because he's gone by that time. So I don't doubt that the serial killer guy was real and psychotic and all of those things. It's just that as these scenes are happening, the dude who got away is not there. He's no longer there. So he doesn't really know that these scenes happened.
So is he telling the story in flashback or something?
No, it's
no.
Hey, look, if you go see this movie, you're an idiot. And secondly, if you do, take a hammer and smash it in your head 4 or 5 times really hard. And in that way, you'll just think, my head hurts and I can't. So the producer comes into class, and it's a producer class, not a screenwriting class. What was wrong with it? And I go into this tirade. And the teacher looks over at me and I said, do you know who Richard Walter is? He runs UCLA Screen. If he sees this movie, he's say everything they're teaching us to do is this movie's the exact opposite, and that's why it's dog shit.
Well, Paul, go into a little bit of that.
Okay, so everything in the movie is preposterous, but inciting incident, right? So in a movie, the first part of a movie is the world of the hero or the protagonist. Okay, so you're like, okay, he works in a grocery store. The 2 girls there that are real pretty ignore him. And then he goes through a bunch of events and slowly becomes a hero. And at the end of the story, the 2 girls in the grocery store now want to date him. And he says, no. That's a Martin Short movie, by the way. So the inciting incident usually takes place, I don't know, 10. So the inciting incident is what changes the world that the protagonist is in. Okay? So, okay, he's a guy at the grocery store. All of a sudden, 14 velociraptors drop in front of the glass, and they're going to eat everybody in the store. He's like, uh-oh. That's the inciting incident. Something has changed the world of the protagonist. So now, the traditional end of Act 1 is after the inciting incident when the protagonist accepts the call to action. Okay? So Luke in Star Wars, he comes back and sees his aunt and uncle burned alive. That's the end of his world, right?
Right.
He looks at Obi-Wan and says, I want to become a Jedi like my father. That's the end of Act 1. Okay, Act 2 is the hero's transformation, and usually at the end of Act 3 is where they call the big gloom. Okay, so that's when, like, it's just Luke now going down that tunnel of the Death Star. It's just Luke. There's no one else there, right? And he's getting ready to get blown up by Vader, and then a cool little thing comes in, and Han Solo saves Luke, and then Luke blows up. So in this movie, Wolf Creek, the inciting incident, the first hour and a half of the movie, it's like a 2.5 hour movie. They are having 3-way sex, going around getting drunk at bars, cruising all over Australia. That's an hour and 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
that sounds like Death Proof by Quentin Tarantino.
A little bit. Yeah.
Which, very similar. Real quick, that movie feels like it's 3 hours and maybe in 90 minutes, but I would say the first hour and 15 minutes is just them sitting in a bar talking, and I'm like, this is awful. Yes. No inciting incident for at least 60 minutes.
So then once they get to a bar, what this guy does, he has a tow truck, and what he does is he goes around and he figures out who doesn't probably belong there, who's not a local, and he gashes their tires or messes up the engine. And
in this movie, this was one of the scenes that's it's a little bit hard to just accept it, because they stopped to get gas, I think is what it was. And they walk into the place is a gas station and a little diner. And they walk inside, I don't know, to use a bathroom or to get a glass of water or something. And it's all guys, all dudes in there. And the guys are sort of catcalling the girls. And the 3 of them get offended and they say something rude back or whatever. So one of the guys who turns out to be the killer, he apparently sabotages their car somehow. But whatever he does to it, they're able still to drive for another hour or 2 or whatever before the car, because Paul, remember, they're out at this, they're at some national park out in the middle of nowhere.
That's right.
And that's when the car will not start. because they got there and their car won't start. So they're stuck in the middle of nowhere and this truck just pulls up. And they think, oh, wow, thank gosh, this guy, but it's him, you know. And that's when the
So he knew exactly where they were going and followed them the whole time.
Right. It got stupid. It got stupid. Yeah.
So then when they have us sit around the campfire and he's drugged them. They don't realize it.
They're drinking water that has some sort of a sedative or something in it.
So anyway, long stupid. I can't believe we're actually talking about this piece of crap movie. The guy, he shoots the serial killer in the neck, right near his jugular vein. They're like, oh, and then 10 minutes later, he's walking around like he's ready to run the Olympics and run a decathlon. Like it actually has no effect on him. And then he kills the two girls, and then the girl finds out that he has captured like 50 cars. He's done the same stuff like 50 times.
Right. They find a whole bunch of video cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she kills her, and then the guy gets to the road, and the guy or the girl, I can't remember anymore. It's so stupid.
The guy.
And a car stops for him, and the guy goes, okay, get in the car, and then bam, the guy from a quarter mile away blows the guy's head off. And so now he's Rambo, the guy from Sniper, Chris Kyle, and he's bulletproof and he's indestructible. And my head at that point is I was really, say what all this back then I was on a 10 of 10, and the guy was looking at me. And then out of like 20 people in the class, there was only one of a screenwriter. And the screenwriter goes, I saw it too, and Paul's right. So then about a year later, I saw this countdown, the most scariest horror movies by this jackass, Eli Roth. He says this is the scariest movie ever made. If I'd have been in the same room with him, I would have made a scary movie with him. I mean, what a complete jackass.
Well, Paul, I would say the first giveaway that it was a bad movie should have been the title of it, Wolf Creek, because as you can tell, I'm a wildlife photographer. That's my hobby in life. But there are no wolves in Australia. In fact, there never has been any fossil evidence of wolves in Australia.
Do not know that. See, that's why we're Steve on the program.
So this is all made up.
Wow. Yeah, it's difficult to describe. I didn't hate it to the degree that Paul hated it, but it wasn't
just
good.
Ridiculous.
And when I saw that they were making sequels to it, I was like, what?
Oh, no.
What? Yeah, there was a Wolf Creek 2 and might have even been a third, but there were sequels.
Jesus, give me strength.
Yeah.
The real Australian movies. Okay, so you got Mad Max, just incredible, and that made Mel Gibson a superstar. And I think the rumor, now remember, Mel Gibson's an American. Never forget that. He moved to Australia. There's like 3 or 4. Supposedly now, someone can call us and write in. His Australian accent was so thick and hard that even a lot of Australians couldn't understand him. So supposedly, I heard they went back and redubbed some of Mel Gibson. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
I think it is. I think that's true because if you watch it, his voice is definitely dubbed. Now, whether it's him redubbing his own voice, but there's a lot of issues with the sync, audio picture sync in that movie.
I have it here somewhere.
And so as a kid, that's part of the reason why I always thought, it was just a little bit weird because I was like, well, this voice doesn't match the visual that I'm seeing. And so watching it as an adult, you're like, oh, it's clearly dubbed over by probably somebody else.
So those were great movies. What other? I mean, there's.
Well, I pulled up a list, which is of like the top 20 greatest Australian movies of all time. Okay. But what's not on here is Picnic at Hanging Rock, which I saw probably about 25 years ago, directed by Peter Weir. And it's about these girls who go, it's like on a Sunday school outing and they disappear. And it's supposed to be heralded as this great movie. I actually own the DVD and it's so boring. I've probably only watched half of it and I've owned that movie for 5 years. Yeah. So I couldn't make it through. Yeah, so I would. That's always cited as probably one of the top Australian movies of all time. But
I've heard the name and I never knew what it was.
Yeah,
it's like Judd Heathcote, right? He did the movie called He's really, really good. There's a movie called The Proposition. Okay. Um, Guy Pearce in it. Have you seen this movie, Steve?
No.
It's really, really good. It's called The Proposition. That guy's a great. He did that movie Lawless. Okay. About the Dry County in Virginia. He did this. He's got a lot of good movies under his. What other good movies?
Yeah, what else is on that list, Steve?
The Wave. Is The Wave on there?
No.
Are you sure?
It's not Elvis. I'm guessing because Baz Luhrmann is Australian, but I wouldn't say that's an Australian movie.
No, you know what is his first movie, Strictly Ballroom. Is that on the list?
No, it's not. But
the list is dog shit.
The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yep, that's good.
That's on there. The
Strictly
Great
Ballroom.
Gatsby, again, I think it's because it's a Baz Luhrmann movie.
Strictly Ballroom is one of the best movies ever. I made my daughters and wife watch it. They loved it. It's all about ballroom dancing.
I saw it. Yeah, it was good.
That sounds like as exciting as the Cotton Club.
Oh, The Wave isn't on there. Are you serious?
Not on this list. I just this is the first one that came up.
Well, that guy's a complete loser who wrote this list.
Australia.
Yeah, I have that.
I have that. All right, I don't have it. I've seen it.
Hugh Jackman and what's her face?
Is Nicole Kidman, right?
Yeah. She's beautiful. Yeah.
Which I was gonna say, what's the movie with A Dead Calm? Is that an Australian movie?
Oh, with her and Sam Neill.
That was good.
That's a great movie.
Really good.
I assume that's Australian. Because isn't Sam Neill? He was Australian too.
He's Australian. Yeah, that probably is an Australian movie.
Are you sure he's Australian?
He is. Yeah, he is.
I'm pretty sure. And there's a great scene in that movie. Between I think it's Billy Zane and Nicole Kidman.
Oh. It was too long ago when I saw it. I don't remember.
I was probably 12 years old when I saw it, so it stuck in my mind. I'll just
guys, we got our warning. We got our warning. Let's wrap up. Anybody have any honorary Oscars to hand out tonight?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I'll go. So I don't know the actor's name, but you guys know exactly what I'm talking about because he's the pilot in Mad Max, and it's his son who's yelling, "We're dead meat! We're dead meat!" So, and that guy has been in a couple of other movies, including Dark City. He was in Dark City, that actor.
And he was.
Oh my God, that was good, Kenny.
I actually met that guy at a Star Wars convention because he was in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh wow!
And I can't remember his name, but yeah, real nice guy.
Yeah.
Paul, go ahead. I do have an honorable mention, and it's not on.
No, because he's the guy in the second movie when Mad Max, he puts the snake out and he catches it. And he goes, "I've never seen anyone beat the snake before." Where he goes out.
Right.
Yeah, the Road Warrior.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So here's my mention. There's a chick in there in the Road Warrior. She's a 10. Her name is Virginia Hay, Hay. So I got to meet her at one of these conventions. She was on Xena. She had a bunch of. She is the nicest, most beautiful woman. She was so nice to me. I just couldn't believe. And I said, I told her, it was just me and her there for like an hour talking after she signed my autograph and photo. And I used to have fantasies about you after, the Road Warrior. And every time I see you get killed, I literally have a nervous breakdown. She starts laughing. It was awesome. She was so sweet and nice. She gets my honorary Oscar.
Well, mine's going to be pretty obvious. It should be Paul Hogan for Crocodile Dundee. I didn't realize he was like a famous comedic actor in Australia before that movie came out. Again, I was a kid when this came out, and we always had the debate of, who was cooler, Indiana Jones or Crocodile Dundee. So
that's a tough call.
No, it's not.
He was pretty funny in that movie.
Remember the guy? They said the guy's a transvestite or something, and Mick he just grabs his genitalia.
Right.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah. There's so many subtle things in it. It's like at the beginning of the movie, he asks, I think it's Wally, his buddy's name, and he's like, looks at his watch, and he looks up at the sun and goes, it's about 2:20. It's so funny. 2:20. We better get started.
That's
I like when he comes into the bar and he has that crocodile 2 beers, one for me, one for my mate. You got that
Right,
on the bar.
right. We might have to devote an entire episode to Crocodile
That movie
Dundee.
is so good.
It's
Oh
good.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're going to wrap it up. Okay. So for tonight, that's it. This is the great classic movie debate. I'm Kenny.
Paul.
I'm Steve.
If you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll appreciate that. Don't forget to check out our sister channel, The Great Classic Rock Debate. Until we meet again, we'll see you next time.
There's